The Earth. Big, round, full of what exactly? Molten core, iron and magma, or a secret inner world with its own sun, ancient civilizations, and woolly mammoths still casually roaming the grasslands? Today on Probably Not True, we're not digging for gold, we're digging through the crust. Welcome to Probably Not True, the podcast that shines a flashlight into history's weirdest rabbit holes, only to find a Nazi, a psychic monk, and an ancient polar portal all playing Uno together in the dark. I'm your host, Aaron Daniels, your tour guide through the questionable corners of history where the facts are flimsy, the theories are unhinged, and the logic has long since packed up and moved to the countryside. Now this week's big question: is the Earth hollow? Like, not in a spiritual we're all empty inside kind of way. Literally, geographically, and planetary structure-wise, a hollow Earth with a sun on the inside. Tunnels that spiral down from the North and South Poles, and allegedly, an entire lost civilization of glowing enlightened superhumans living in peace and quiet beneath our feet. You know, while we are all up here arguing about whether oat milk has a personality or not. It's a theory that blends science fiction, 18th century adventure novels, and a healthy dose of how is this not a Marvel plotline yet? But somehow it took off. Generals believed it, explorers swore that they'd seen it, and some people to this day think the Earth is less of a solid sphere and more of a cosmic kinder egg. So buckle up, because we're digging deep. And what we find might just make you want to move underground, like a mole person. The Hollow Earth theory isn't just some modern internet fever dream, it's actually been bouncing around human history for centuries. Long before Reddit, YouTube documentaries, the History Channel, and guys on TikTok whispering over maps, people were already imagining what might lie beneath our feet. Ancient mythology is packed with ideas of inner realms. Hidden worlds just below the Earth's crust where gods, monsters, titans, or the dead hang out, waiting for something dramatic to happen. We're talking Hades, the Greek underworld, full of shades, rivers, and way too many judgmental judges. Sheol, from Hebrew tradition, a shadowy afterlife beneath the earth. Svartalfheim, sorry if I butchered the pronunciation, the Norse home of the Dark Elves, because of course the Vikings had an entire realm for angry underground metal workers. And Agartha, the legendary inner earth city found in Buddhist and Hindu teachings, a spiritual utopia allegedly accessed through hidden tunnels and guarded by, depending on the version, monks, serpents, or yetis. But the modern Hollow Earth theory, the one with maps and diagrams and awkwardly serious men giving PowerPoint presentations about subterranean suns, really kicks back to the 1600s, with none other than Edmund Halley. Yes, the comic guy. Halley wasn't just staring at the sky, he also wondered what was going on under our boots. And after studying some weird compass readings and noticing that the Earth's magnetic field seemed to wobble a bit, he proposed a pretty wild idea. What if the Earth wasn't solid? What if it had multiple concentric shells like a Russian doll, each one rotating separately, each with its own magnetic field, atmosphere, and possibly, just possibly, its own weather? Why would he suggest this? Well, weird compass readings on sea voyages didn't line up. Magnetic pole shifts were poorly understood and very inconvenient. The aurora borealis was mysterious and beautiful, and Halley thought that maybe it was sunlight leaking out from the inner layers, a bit like Earth had a cracked light bulb. Basically, in the 17th century, unexplained science often tends to mean imagine a secret realm with spinning layers. And in fairness to Halley, he didn't suggest mole people or lost civilizations, just magnetic spheres and atmospheric shells doing weird magnetic stuff. But then the 18th and 19th centuries come, and that's when things really took a turn. Suddenly this wasn't about physics, it was about expeditions, mystical entrances at the poles, and the idea that inside our planet was not just air and rock, but a whole second world, lit by its own central sun, filled with ancient beings who had figured out peace, enlightenment, and advanced energy systems, all whilst wearing flowery robes and not paying rent. Basically a bunch of hippies. Section 2. John Cleese Sims and the Polar Holes. Meet John Cleves Sims Jr., an American war vet, amateur philosopher, and an enthusiastic, passionate, unshakable believer in one thing: holes. No, not the film. Specifically, giant polar holes, because regular holes just weren't enough. In 1918, Sims burst onto the scene with a bold claim. He wholeheartedly and unapologetically believed that the Earth was completely hollow, and that the inner world could be accessed via two massive openings at the North and South Poles. How do we know this? Because he sent it in a formal letter to Congress. Imagine working in government and opening that one morning. Well, imagine working in American Congress. Probably not the most believable thing you're going to see. The letter read in part, "I declare the Earth is hollow and habitable within. I am ready to explore the hollow if the world will support and aid me in this undertaking." In other words, "Dear US government, please give me a boat. I'd like to drive it into a hole at the top of the planet and say hi to the mole people." Shockingly, and this will stun you, no one gave him any money. Congress didn't respond, NASA hadn't been invented yet to tell him to go away, and most newspapers treated him like that one uncle who won't stop forwarding Facebook articles about Atlantis. But here's the twist. People believed him, like a lot of people. He wasn't just this weird guy shouting at maps, he became a minor celebrity. A sort of 19th century flat earther with better hair and more pamphlets. He held public lectures, he drew detailed diagrams of the hollow Earth, he tried repeatedly to secure funding for this polar expedition. He even got a few noted scientists of the day to say, well, maybe. And somehow this theory stuck, because even after he died, his followers kept the dream alive. One of them built a monument to his ideas in Ohio, and another tried to get Hollow Earth textbooks into schools. And yes, to this day, there are still small towns in America that celebrate Sims Holes Day. Yes, it's real. No, I'm not proud of it, and yes, it sounds exactly like something you'd make up after 3 drinks and a dare. So while most explorers in the 1800s were mapping coastlines, getting eaten by bears, John Cleves Sims Jr. was just out there yelling, "Dig deeper, there's a whole other world down there, I bet it's lovely." Agartha, Nazis and Nazi UFOs. And just when you think this theory couldn't get any weirder, the Nazis got involved because, of course they did. In the 1930s and 40s, fringe German occultist groups started blending nationalism, pseudoscience, and straight up sci-fi into something horrifyingly bizarre. One such group was the Vril Society, which was an esoteric cult of mystics, racists, and people who definitely shouldn't have access to military funding. These people believed in a secret, ancient subterranean world called Agartha, allegedly located inside the Earth, which was accessible via the poles or remote mountain regions. They theorized that it was populated by a master race of tall, pale, psychic beings who possessed advanced energy technology known as Vril. That's right. Glowing, psychic superhumans living inside the Earth, just waiting for humanity to reach spiritual enlightenment, or for Germany to show up with swastikas and bad intentions. Insert your own "every cult thinks their god lives underground" joke here. Now this is where the conspiracy theory goes full on Indiana Jones meets Ancient Aliens. It's rumoured that the Nazis launched expeditions to both Tibet and Antarctica in search of entrances to this inner Earth. Nothing screams scientific method like trying to find Agartha via Penguin Country and Himalayan temples. There were claims of hidden Nazi bases built inside the Earth, because apparently it wasn't enough to hide in Argentina, they wanted to go deeper. And yes, Nazi UFOs allegedly launched from these polar holes. Not planes, not jets, UFOs. With reverse-engineered alien tech powered by the Vril energy and just fascist vibes. Some versions even claim Hitler escaped to Agartha, not Argentina, which, depending on your view of karma, is either nonsense or the most dramatic go underground metaphor ever used by a dictatorship. Technically, this theory suggests Hitler didn't just die in a bunker, he moved in and just kept digging. Now to be clear, there is no credible evidence for any of this, not a single document, not one verified photo, not even a good fake passport stamped "Welcome to Agartha." But like all great conspiracy theories, it didn't need proof. It just needed a vibe, and World War II left the world so paranoid, burned out and sci-fi obsessed that this particular fever dream caught fire. Post-war, the theory thrived, The Hollow Earth theory evolved from weird Enlightenment philosophy into a full-blown pulp fiction nightmare, with Nazi scientists, lost cities, and glowing alien orbs were just part of the scenery. Because once you've weaponized occultism, science kind of goes off the table. By the time the 20th century rolled around, the Hollow Earth theory had evolved from Enlightenment-era science into something far weirder. The new wave brought us psychic channels, lost mammoths, and enough hallucinogenic literature to make your GCSE English class look like it's grounded in realism. Let's start with the mammoths. Yes, woolly mammoths. Because for some reason, believers became obsessed with the idea that woolly mammoths, the long extinct Ice Age elephants, were still alive, just chilling near the North Pole, occasionally popping out of polar holes like they were grabbing groceries. This reads like the plot of literally an Ice Age movie. Alleged sightings claimed herds of mammoths were spotted by Soviet pilots, Arctic explorers, or guys named Carl with extremely vivid imaginations. The theory was that these weren't survivors from the past. They were residents of the Hollow Earth, occasionally wandering topside like confused houseguests. But it doesn't just stop at frozen fauna. The 1900s also brought a wave of mystics, mediums, and woo-woo psychics who claimed to be channeling messages from inside the Earth. According to them, the beings living in the Hollow Earth were not lost tribes or ancient explorers. They were spiritually evolved light beings who communicated via telepathy, crystals, and good old-fashioned seance. Messages from Agartha included classic wisdom like live in harmony, balance your chakras, and occasionally, for good measure, buy my book. Speaking of books, there's a lot of books. Take The Smoky God, 1908, a cult classic in Hollow Earth circles. This tells the story of a Norwegian sailor named Olaf Jansen who, along with his father, allegedly sailed into the inner Earth via the North Pole. This is where they found a technologically advanced civilization with 12-foot tall growing humans and a literal central sun. Supposedly they lived there for 2 whole years, then returned, then got locked in an asylum, and honestly that last part feels like the most realistic detail. Then there's Etidorfa. That's Aphrodite spelt backwards, which is already a red flag. This was published in 1895, it's part alchemy, part underground travelogue, part mushroom-fueled fever dream. It reads like someone mixed Journey to the Centre of the Earth, another book on the topic by the way, with a Victorian acid trip and said, yeah, this seems historically plausible. And of course we can't skip the big one, Admiral Richard Byrd, a real person, a decorated American naval officer. He led several expeditions over the Arctic and Antarctic in the early 20th century, totally respectable man, totally real trips. But somewhere along the lines, conspiracy theorists decided that he was the missing link. This was the guy who saw it all and came back changed. They point to a secret diary which was allegedly written by Byrd, where he supposedly describes flying over a lush inner Earth teeming with life, alien aircraft, and peaceful superhumans who told him to warn humanity to chill out. The only problem? Completely fake. Byrd never wrote it, he never said anything about Hollow Earth. His actual recordings say things like ice and snow and I'm very cold. But that didn't stop the internet from sharing it for decades like gospel. Because in conspiracy land, if it's printed in Courier font and mentions Nazis or aliens, it has to be true. Science says no. So, how likely is it that the Earth is hollow? According to actual science, the peer-reviewed, PhD-flavoured kind, the answer is absolutely not. Please stop asking. Let's run through the big red flags, shall we? First up is Earth's density and gravity. The numbers only add up if the Earth has a dense interior, specifically a solid inner core surrounded by molten metal. If the planet were hollow, gravity wouldn't work the way it does. You wouldn't be pulled down, you'd be pulled sideways, towards the inner walls. So next time you drop your phone, be grateful it falls in the right direction. Second, seismic waves. When earthquakes happen, we can measure how the shockwaves travel through the planet. These waves bounce, bend, and pass through the Earth in ways that only make sense if the interior is in fact solid with a liquid layer. If there was a hollow cavity the size of Kansas in the middle of the Earth, we'd definitely notice. Seismographs don't tend to lie. Third, the magnetic field. Earth's magneticism isn't powered by crystals or psychic energy, it's generated by the movement of liquid iron in the outer core, spinning like a massive underground lava blender. No molten metal, no magnetic field. And if the field disappeared? You'd know, because your compass would stop working and your GPS would go into a full existential crisis. Fourth, we've tried digging. The farthest humanity has ever drilled into the Earth is about 12 kilometers down. That's the Kola Super Deep Borehole in Russia. Which is impressive to be fair, but it's still barely scratching the crust. So far, what have we found? No glowing cities, no psychic monks, no woolly mammoths waving politely from underground doorways. Just heat, pressure, and a lot of disappointment. Now, let's talk logistics, shall we? If there were a giant hollow world inside our planet, the Earth's structure would collapse inward under its own weight, like a badly baked souffle. Gravity would behave all wrong, objects would fall towards the sides, not the centre. So walking inside a hollow Earth would basically be like living inside a salad bowl during an earthquake. And most importantly, we would have met the inner sun worshipping mole people by now. They would have made contact, they probably would have started a podcast. They might challenge us to a game of volleyball using anti-grav. And no, before you ask, the Aurora Borealis is not the warm glow of inner Earth energy. It's in Springfield. It's solar particles smashing into Earth's magnetic field near the poles. It's not a radioactive fairy dust from a secret sun. So unless the mole people are really good at hiding and everything we know about physics is lying to us, the hollow Earth theory is, scientifically speaking, hot nonsense wrapped in cool maps. So, is the Earth hollow? On the probably not true believability index, trademarked, this one scores a generous 0.3 out of 10 Arctic entrance tunnels. And honestly, that 0.3 is just me being sentimental. Because as much as I'd love to believe in glowing inner suns, ancient utopias, and mammoths chilling in the core like they're on a spiritual retreat, it just ain't happening. There's no tunnel. There's no psychic subterranean elves. There's no ancient crystal cities humming beneath Iceland. The only thing truly hollow about the Earth is this theory. Thanks for digging deep with Probably Not True, the only podcast brave enough to go spelunking through the stupid and come out the other side covered in glitter and mild existential dread. Do you want more madness? Well, we've got bonus episodes, cursed visualizers, merch you probably shouldn't wear in public, and a Patreon full of unreleased content with less structural integrity than a hollow planet. Come for the science. Stay for the sarcasm. Leave wondering whether Admiral Byrd was just cold and bored. Next time on Probably Not True. What if the internet died? The dead internet theory. A creeping digital paranoia full of bots, psyops, ghost websites, and a deeply unsettling idea that you might be the only real human left online. Is it a dystopian glitch? Or is it just another Wednesday on Reddit? That's next time on Probably Not True.